Toma la palabra la señora Mizzi.
Thank you, Mr. President. The importance of the role of the European Ombudsman in protecting citizens' rights and strengthening citizens' confidence and public trust in the European institutions cannot be emphasised enough. This is the only mechanism that holds the EU administration into account and investigates cases on behalf of our citizens. The European Ombudsman is the guardian of good administration, ensuring that the EU institutions function properly and do not encroach upon citizens' rights. In this regard, I would like to congratulate the Ombudsman, Emily O'Reilly, for her excellent work in improving the quality and accessibility of the Ombudsman's services and for increasing the visibility and impact of the work of the European Ombudsman. Ms O'Reilly has accomplished a lot since her election by this House as European Ombudsman back in 2013. The quality of the Ombudsman annual report has been improved. Now the report is clearer and easy to read. Public administrations need to become more citizen-friendly, and I think that you have achieved this milestone with your annual report. You have also improved the role of the Ombudsman's strategic inquiries and initiatives by pursuing, on your own initiative, important topics in public interest of the European citizens, such as the transparency of the TTIP negotiations. New working methods were introduced and case handling procedures were streamlined. This enables greater flexibility and efficiency of the Ombudsman's services, aimed at deepening the dialogue between people and institutions. You have also maintained an excellent cooperation and positive engagement with the European Parliament, and in particular with the Committee of Petitions. And last but certainly not least, you have made the Ombudsman services more visible. According to the Flash Eurobarometer survey of March 2016, 9 out of 10 EU citizens are familiar with the status as European citizens and their right to complain to the Ombudsman. I would also like to thank the shadow rapporteurs for their valuable input during all stages of preparing this report. Our cooperation was really very fruitful, and I did my best to accommodate most of their contributions. I think that we all share the view that in such turbulent times, when the European Union is facing unprecedented challenges, such as the unemployment crisis, the migration crisis, Brexit, the role of the Ombudsman is bridging the gap between people and the EU institutions is crucial. Unfortunately, transparency, openness, access to information and documents, respect for the rights of the citizens, high ethical standards are still top citizens' concerns in the cases investigated by the European Ombudsman. The level of quality of our institutions need to be reflected in the level of support from European citizens. Trust between citizens and the institutions is of paramount importance, and we need to work on that if we are to get a mandate from our citizens to do what needs to be done to protect European citizens and to protect Europe. Achieving the highest possible level of transparency and access to documents must be the rule. And whenever there are any exceptions to this rule, they should always be weighed against the principles of democracy. I would just like to point out that 100% transparency will probably never be possible in the light of certain legal considerations. However, my report strives for having the highest possible level of transparency and access to documents, in particular when it comes to the EU's economic and financial decision-making process, trade or trialogue negotiations, and even on the ongoing negotiations between the EU and the UK. The report also notes the maladministration with regard to the code of conduct of commissioners. When it comes to the revolving door phenomenon of conflict of interest, it is clear that the highest moral and ethical standards need to apply to all EU institutions. We need to secure respect, and this can only be done through absolute integrity and full independence from the private sector. We want to see a revision of the Code of Conduct of Commissioners. In view of this, it is also time to comply with the Ombudsman's suggestions for improving the EU Transparency Register by making it mandatory central transparency hub for all EU institutions and agencies. So, in view of the emphasis of good governance, I also want to support the Award for Good Administration, which acknowledges best practices in the EU administration and which brings them to the attention of our citizens. And finally, I would like to say that I am very satisfied with the report of Madam Ombudsman, and I wish her the best in her future work. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Señora O'Reilly.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Good evening, and thank you, Madam Mizzi, and all of the shadow rapporteurs for your work.